Let's take a look at where oil is trading. Middle East oil prices off Brent were down by over 1% on the session. Gold, silver, copper all been under pressure of late. NYMEX trading down by 1.23%. Samarita Sen is a commodities analyst at Barclays Capital. Welcome to The Pulse. What expectations for Iraqi oil are built into the price of crude at the moment?
I don't think Iraq necessarily impacts spot crude oil prices because it's much more a longer-term story. It's much more how much they can bring online over the next few years. So it does affect the back end of the curve. It affects the futures curve. But I think it's important to bear in mind that Iraqi oil production is not just a function of its geology, which is, of course, very, very attractive, but also a very important function of the political backdrop over there, the institutions, the infrastructure. And there are still a lot of impediments over there. So it's going to be a very gradual increase in production from here.
But once it is sort of fully factored back into the markets, just sort of give us a sense of the scale it could command. It is a region that obviously provides a great deal of crude to the world. How big a player will Iraq be versus Saudi, Iran, etc.?
I think this is the most important question in terms of how quickly can it ramp up. Of course, the initial aims were to get to 12 million barrels per day by 2016, 2017. Clearly, they were unrealistic targets. If it gets to around 4.5, maybe 5 million barrels per day by that time, it will still be a very, very big achievement from Iraq's point of view. The problem, of course, is that even in the region at the moment, there are lots of problems going on between Kurdistan and the Iraqi government. So that obviously creates more hurdles in moving forward, and infrastructure is still very much an issue. So to get to the kind of, say, near Saudi levels of 10 million barrels per day, it could take decades. It's definitely not going to be in the next few years. Iran, obviously, on the other hand, because production is declining, arguably Iraq could overtake Iran's oil production by the end of this decade, sure. But Saudi Arabia, there's a long way to go.
Is it fairly sour? Is it like the rest of the region? So in terms of the crackers, it's not as useful as, say, Libyan oil?
No, I think Iraq's crude quality is very good. It has a fair amount of light to medium crude, quite a bit of medium, so it's not necessarily as heavy as the rest of the region.
Talk to me a little bit about where the oil price goes at the moment. Brent has been moving lower. We continue to see that. I read a piece by Javier Blas in the FT this morning talking about an end of the super cycle. Would you agree with that?
I mean, super cycle or not, I think at the moment the problem with commodity prices in oil is no different to that, is the Eurozone fears about Greek exit and Spanish banks and so on. Unless there is any clarity about the whole European situation, it will be very, very difficult for prices to go up. That's across the board, but particularly for oil. Because if you look at second half balances, they don't look particularly bad at all. Demand is supposed to pick up. And also, I think geopolitically, things aren't looking very good once again, with the Iranian talks not being particularly successful. But at the moment, the only focus of the market is Eurozone, and we have to have some sort of clarity emerge.
So where would you be buying? Are you buying at the front? Are you buying at the back end of the maturities? How do you actually play it from a sort of duration point of view?
Back end, sure, it looks very attractive because you still need about $100 oil, whether it be for OPEC, whether it be for non-OPEC, and a few years further out, it is very, very cheap. However, we have seen quite a bit more of producers selling to hedge their production forward, so you will be against that flow. So that may not necessarily give you the same sort of returns as you would hope for. Front end, yes, I think it is, especially if you get another few dollars pulling back, it's probably a very attractive buy, but again, the timing is going to be very, very key. I would say nothing before June because you've got the OPEC meeting, you've got the Greece elections, you've got the Iranian talks. Once that set of events are out of the way, then yes, arguably if prices are still here and if the events go okay, then yes, you can buy front-end prices.
Samarita, nice to see you. Thanks for the analysis. Samarita Sen joining us from Barclays.